Hello everyone, it's Nat here, aka the Wolf of Watertown. Today I'm going to be focusing on how I come about with getting my clear-cut criteria for rental properties and some of the analysis that I go through in order to determine if a property will make a good rental property or not. But before we get started, please help me out by subscribing and liking the channel if you have not already. And go. Perfect. Thank you very much. So there's two main approaches that I take for dealing with rental properties. I like to take the soft approach where I kind of like get the vibes that I get from it, like what I would do if I was the individual looking to find a place to rent in the area, things of that nature, just the human approach to it. And then the second approach I take is more analytical, where I do a lot of calculations and figure out if the property makes sense to own or not. I do like single family homes, but the fact of the matter is the area that I'm in, I don't really see it being much worthwhile to have a single family home. So I specialize in multifamilies. And especially if once you're getting started as a real estate investor, a lot of people wonder where's the best area to get started in. And I recommend right in your backyard, because you know the area already and you can already figure out some things or some trends. You know what the good part of town is, you know what the bad part of town is. So you're already at an advantage in knowing your area. Now there's really two ways that you can build wealth through real estate. The first is going to be through cash flow and the second is going to be through appreciation. So I use these two factors to help guide and generate my actual analysis of a rental. I'm currently located in upstate New York, and for me personally, I don't see this as an area that I would ever permanently settle down in. And as a matter of fact, I don't think a lot of people would permanently settle down here. So I don't think owning a property here would really grow that much in appreciation in the long run. Though I don't anticipate a lot of people wanting to live here just because of the brutally long winters, there are a lot of people who have to live here after all, which means that there's a lot of money to be made in terms of cash flow. And typically speaking, a lot of people will buy single family homes, but you're not going to get a lot of people that are looking to buy multifamily homes. Therefore, in terms of single family homes, you're going to see a greater rate of increase when it comes to the appreciation of the property when compared to multifamilies. However, when you have multifamilies, you're going to see more cash flow from month to month because you have more doors or more units that are bringing in rent each month. So instead of just having a single family that only has one family in it, you might have a duplex, a triplex, a quadplex that's collecting rent from 2, 3, 4 different families. So basically the area I live in is what guided my direction to specializing in multifamilies as opposed to single families. I know that I wouldn't settle down here and most people wouldn't settle down here because it just snows about 8 months out of the year. Being that this is so, when it comes to me analyzing the property, I need to focus more on how much I can gain in cash flow as opposed to focusing primarily on the appreciation. Because the only person realistically that I'm going to be able to sell my properties to whenever I decide to get out is going to be to another real estate investor. So now that I have my property type that I'm going to specialize in, I have to think about my customer base. So lives in the area that I'm going to be renting to, and what kind of needs do they have? What kind of jobs do they work? And how can I meet these needs in order to make a profit? So up in Watertown, Fort Drum funds a lot of the activity that goes on. So I know that a large population is going to be military. We also have the general public. I'm not really sure what they do, but they're here. And there's also a large population of people that work at the local hospital here. So bam, there I have it. I know my clientele group is going to be either military or going to work at the hospital. This population of people are probably going to be a little bit younger, especially if they're elected not to live on post, but instead they're staying off post. So this is why I set my criteria to have a minimum of 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. I prefer at least a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but just because of the area I'm in, you don't find a lot of multifamilies that have that setup. And the reason for this is that I know that you have to be over a certain rank in order to live off post if you're in the military, or you must be married. So it's either going to be young officers, NCOs, or it's going to be young soldiers that are married. And I like to focus on this group of people more because they tend to be a little bit more mature. So you're going to be less likely to have late calls about something breaking in the house or them causing damages because they threw some sort of rager party at your house. So whether they're single or they're married, they're going to need one bedroom for where they sleep. And if they're military, they're probably going to want the second bedroom in order to keep all their gear and military equipment in. And if you're married, you're probably going to be with your spouse, sleeping in one bedroom, and then you again use that second bedroom for all your excess gear. So for this reason, I think the 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom frame works well in the Watertown area. Now you have to look at your own area itself, determine what kind of groups of people actually live and work there on a day-to-day, and see what exactly their needs are and how you can fulfill those needs through real estate. So now that I have my clear-cut criteria, I get in touch with my realtor, Sonia Collins. Shout out to Sonia from All American Real Estate. And what she does, which is pretty awesome, she has it set up to where whenever a multifamily hits the market that has at least 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on each side, and also fits under $200,000, it automatically gets emailed to me once it becomes public. And that brings me to another note. When it comes to multifamilies, I'd really prefer units that are side to side because these kind of setups are newer, and it also means that the water and sewer are going to be separated per unit. When units are stacked top to bottom, typically the water and sewer are together, which means the landlord, aka myself, would be paying for water and sewage each month, as opposed to if the units were side by side, the tenants would be paying it, and then that would be another expense off my books. So like I said, once a multifamily hits the market that's under 200,000 and has at least 2 beds, 1 bath on each side, this gets automatically emailed to me. And this is how I came up with the $200,000 cutoff. So this rule is known as the 1% rule. I like to consider it more like the 2% rule. Typically, if you see any percentage over 2%, then that deal is extremely good and it will cash flow. But I like to keep all my deals somewhere between 1% and 2%. And this is by no means the end all be all to analyzing. This is just the quick and dirty way I do it to see if a property is even worth me going in to view it. Once I actually view the property and get a feel for it, then I go into a deeper analysis to make sure the numbers actually work before I even decide to go under contract. But yeah, so with the 2% rule, what you're gonna take is the monthly rent divided by the actual value of the home. And if you don't know how much rent is in your area, you can use features such as apartments.com, rental meter, the Facebook Marketplace, and see what kind of units are renting for what. So for instance, you can go on apartments.com and see what apartments with a 2-bedroom, 1 bath setup are renting for and how many square feet they have, and compare it to the current house that you're looking at. And let's say for instance, it's renting for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath is renting for $2,000. So if the house you're looking at rents for $2,000, that means you can afford a home that costs $200,000 and still see a positive cash flow, because $2,000 divided by $200,000 would give you 1%, which is positive. As I said, my area is a lot bigger on cash flow than it is appreciation. So my focus in my specific region is to get my cash flow to hit as close as possible to 2%. So realistically, if I see any percentage between 1.5 and up, I'm going to see it as a deal that I need to go and visit and look at. If it doesn't meet at least 1.5%, I don't even consider it. The second quick and dirty measurement that I take is what's known as the 50% rule. This is when I take the monthly expected rent, so let's say $2,000, and then I divide it by 2. So that'd be $1,000. I do this because it's predicted that about 50% of the income you make from the rental property will go towards your expenses. Now, these expenses will include everything from taxes, insurance, utilities, and yes, of course, taxes and insurance could all be escrowed together in your mortgage. But for this instance, we're just separating it. And let's not forget about repairs and vacancies, which I allocate at least 5% of the actual rent to each respective category. So like we said, rent is $2,000, so that's your income, and then we divide it by 2 to take care of the expenses. That's $1,000. And now you subtract your mortgage from that $1,000, and that's in whatever number you get there, That's an indicator of around how much you can expect to cash flow each month. The last calculation I like to do for my analysis before I decide if I even want to go see a property is to determine what the cash on cash return of my investment is going to be. So with my previous calculation with the 50% rule, we got an estimate of what the monthly cash flow will be. In order to determine your return on investment when it comes to cash on cash, you do this by determining how much money you actually need to put into the deal in order to get it. This will include all payments that you're templated to make in order to actually purchase the property up front. This will be your down payment, closing costs, and other miscellaneous things that you might need to pay for. So in order to calculate this, you're going to take your annual cash flow and you're going to divide it by how much money you put down total in order to purchase the property. So let's just create a hypothetical situation here to better understand what I'm saying. So let's say you cash flow $390 each month. You take the $390 and you multiply it by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. This will give you $4,680 annually. And now let's pretend that you bought a house that was worth $200,000 and you're going with a conventional loan. So you need to put 20% down. This would be a $40,000 down payment. You'll also need to consider your closing costs, which we're going to say is $3,000 in this situation. Next, you're going to have maybe your rehab budget and other miscellaneous things you have to pay for. And we'll just say that's $7,000. So we have $40,000, $3,000, and $7,000, which means like altogether, you put down $50,000 to make this purchase possible. So we take the annual cash flow, which was $4,680, and then we divide it by the $50,000 of how much money you actually put down on. And that will give you 0.0936. So you multiply this by 100, of course, and you get a 9.36% return on investment, cash on cash. So now this is when you need to determine for yourself, is a 9% return on investment good or bad? And for me personally, I consider anything that's over 8% to be on the good side, because in the stock market, you're probably going to be looking at a 6, 7, 8% return on average, maybe a 10% return, but you also have no control when it comes to actually gaming the stock market. When it comes to real estate, especially in the multi-family domain, there's a lot of room for error and you actually get to control your money. So if anything were to happen that leads me to lose money, it'd be because of something I did incorrectly, which I can learn from, adapt, and improve upon. So compared to the stock market or any other form of investment, I would say yes, a 9.36% cash on cash return is phenomenal, and therefore I schedule with my realtor a time and date to go view the property. Now, unless I get to the property and there's something that just feels off about it, more than likely I'm gonna try to get under contract for this deal. Now, that's kind of like the quick and dirty way to do some quick analysis to see if a property, one, meets your criteria or the numbers make sense. And you do this before I even go and visit the property, because there's only 24 hours in a day. There's plenty of deals out there, and I got to make sure I'm using my time efficiently and not wasting my time on every single house that comes to the market. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will also make another video in the future where I go into a deeper analysis and some more deep dive into the numbers to see how you do an actual thorough analysis of a property before you actually go under contract. See you next time.